What's going on, everybody? Zach Macmillan back again. Let's talk mortgage. This time around, we're talking about escrows. No, I'm not talking about Escrow. I'm talking about escrows. How does it apply to your mortgage payment? What is it? What you need to keep in mind? So stick around. Here we go. Those who are in fear of education, defining terms, math, please be warned the definition is coming. So, escrows, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a deed, a bond, money, or piece of property held in trust by a third party to be turned over to the guarantee upon fulfillment of a condition. So, once again, we're talking escrows. Now, first things first, let's step back for a second. Step back, rewind. So your mortgage payment is comprised of four components: your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance. Your taxes and your insurance, those last two pieces of information, is what's being held in escrow as part of your mortgage payment. Now we're going to go into that a little bit further, but I want to make sure I outline that your mortgage payment, that $1,000 a month you're paying, that $1,500 a month you're paying, that $3,000 a month you're paying, is not just for your home specifically, your principal and your interest, but it's also including your taxes and your insurance. We have to factor those in as well. Now, to segue a little bit, when you're getting ready to purchase a home, whether you're buying a home again or it's your first time buying a home, the term escrow will be used interchangeably two different ways by your realtor and then your lender, but to mean the same definition according to Webster, that money being held by a third party on your behalf. So let's start with your realtor. So when you're with your realtor and you make your earnest money deposit, that good faith deposit, whatever you want to refer to it as, that money you're going to take is not being held by your lender. It's not being held by your realtor. It's going to likely be held by some form of title company, lawyer's office, basically escrow agent to hold that earnest money for you. So at time of closing, that money is added to the amount you have to pay towards down payment and closing costs. Is money being held by a third party on your behalf till the end of the transaction. So when you're starting with your real estate agent, and they say you have to put your earnest money deposit down, that money's been held in escrow for you while you get ready to close and purchase your home. Now, on the flip side of things, when we talk about your escrow in regards to your mortgage lender, when we're talking about escrows, we're talking about your taxes, your insurance, possibly even your HOA, depending upon where you're purchasing your home, money being collected simultaneously as your principal and your interest payments to make sure that when your taxes and insurance roll around at some point throughout the year, they're making sure they're getting paid as well. So bear in mind, two of the responsibilities of owning a home is making sure that the property taxes are paid as well as the insurance is paid. These things have to get paid while you're making payments on your home, and even after you make payments on your home, to make sure that additional liens aren't being placed upon your property. Now, like most people, if you're first time buying a home or you haven't bought a home in a while, you may thought it was just as easy as going to Google, putting in a search for a mortgage calculator. Mortgage calculator pops up on Google. You put in the amount of home you think you could purchase, the interest rate, and boop, there goes a payment for your mortgage, and you think, okay, bam, I can afford that. That's no problem. Well, what happens is that particular calculator does not factor in your taxes, your insurance, i.e. your escrows. And so therefore, you may be undermining what your actual payment for a mortgage will actually be and the things we actually take into consideration when you're getting ready to purchase a home, like your taxes and insurance. So you're definitely going to want to keep that in mind. Please be mindful that when you are calculating your potential mortgage payment or what you think your mortgage payment is going to be, making sure you're factoring in your taxes and your insurance, even though these things may not be escrowed into your monthly mortgage payment, these things are still taken consideration when we are doing your debt to income ratios. So that's something to keep in mind as well, okay? Let's take, for instance, your primary residence in Wetumpka. I don't know what Wetumpka is. Where's Wetumpka? Let's say your primary residence is already paid off. No mortgage payment, boom, you're good. Doesn't count against your debt to income. Well, we still have to factor in the taxes and the insurance for that particular residence, although the mortgage payment is paid off. So let's say that particular property, the taxes and the insurance makes up about $500 a month. Well, that $500 a month is now added to your liabilities when doing financing for that secondary home or investment property as a debt that's coming against your DTI. So please keep in mind, even though that property is paid off, we're still having to factor in that taxes and insurance for that property because it's still an expense you have to maintain if you're retaining that residence, okay? Something very important to note when it comes to escrows. So people ask me often, hey, so this is my set payment I'm about to worry about for the next 30 years. I'm not going to worry about my payment changing, correct? That's actually not correct. So even if you have a fixed interest rate mortgage, your principal and your interest part of your payment will not change as long as you don't make any additional payments or have any type of payment recast, anything to that extent. But if you leave everything as is, your principal and your interest part of your payment will not change. That's fixed. If your taxes and your insurance are escrowed into your mortgage payment, your payment subsequently can change from year to year. Why is that? Because taxes change each year. Insurance change each year. Your insurance can vary depending upon if there's been an excess of hurricanes in your area, some floods, wildfires, so on and so forth. So because of which, your insurance premium may change on an annual basis, along with taxes. I haven't seen a situation where taxes go down. I could be wrong. As long as I've been owning a home, taxes have always been going up. And so because of it, your mortgage payment goes up. So your payment for your mortgage can particularly change due to your escrows that's a part of it, your taxes and your insurance. Now, when it comes to your insurance aspect of your mortgage payment, you can't find another insurance carrier. It's like it's not as if they say, hey, you got to keep these people for the next 30 years. You can continually find a better insurance quote if you like to make sure that your mortgage payment stays in line where you want it to. So you don't necessarily have to keep that same company you have. You can vary rate insurance companies. It is your option, okay? Now, taxes is a whole other story. If you find a way to get lower tax, you call me and let me know, please. I want to find out. Thank you. So another common escrow that you may hear for is the escrow holdback. And so what an escrow holdback is, let's say you in a transaction with the buyer, a transaction with the seller. They're selling a home to you, and it turns out the home needs some type of repairs to it. Needs a new roof, needs new HVAC, needs new plumbing, so on and so forth. And so, in doing so, let's say they're really trying to sell the home, just want to get out of it. They can do what's called an escrow holdback, and the title company, the escrow agent, whoever is holding the funds, who's going to disperse out funds at the end of the transaction, they can hold back some of the proceeds that the seller is supposed to get to make sure the proper money is funded for these repairs before they actually pay them out. And so that is another way to describe an escrow, because you may be in a transaction where you're buying an older home, need some repairs, and rather than getting that stuff repaired during the transaction, they'll say, okay, we'll go ahead and sell the home. We'll just go ahead and hold some of the money back to make sure these things are taken care of for who's ever purchasing the home. So you may hear that term escrow holdback in reference to the escrow agent, the title company, holding back funds from the transaction to make sure that repairs are actually done according to the contract and according to whatever agreement you all came up with. So keep in mind of that term, escrow holdback. So when we're talking about escrows, your mortgage company or your bank, what they're going to want to do is collect your taxes and collect your insurance at the same time that you're collecting your principal and your interest payments also. They want to make sure these things are getting paid. Why is that? Well, simply because if your taxes, your property taxes are getting paid, if you have an insurance policy but it's not being paid, essentially they can place a lien upon that property that could subsequently proceed or be ahead of their lien position, your mortgage company. In which case, if you were to default on your loan, their money would get paid first before the bank or the mortgage company would get their money. They don't like that. So they generally will want you to have your payments be in escrow for your taxes and your insurance to make sure these things are getting paid. So when the payment rolls around, these things are taken care of. We don't have to worry about it. You can waive escrows under certain programs if your loan to value meets that program's parameters, to have your taxes and your insurance paid separately from your mortgage payment. Now you may ask yourself, why would I want to do that? Well, let's say for instance, you are refinancing your home. Your home's paid off already. You don't owe any money on it. So you've already been paying your property taxes and your insurance separately from a mortgage payment because you didn't have one. So you're about to refinance your home because you want to get some cash out, consolidate some debt, what have you. And in doing so, your mortgage loan officer may ask you, hey, Mr. McMillan, do you want to escrow your taxes and your insurance along with your mortgage payment? And you may say, listen, well, my taxes are already paid. My insurance is already paid. I want my lowest possible payment. So let me go ahead and just keep my escrow separate from my principal and interest payments. So I'm just paying those separately. And I continue to pay my taxes and insurance on an annual basis outside of my mortgage payment. Along with that concept, if you do that, remember your mortgage payment, the way it's reported on your credit, is that full payment that's being collected by your servicer. So if your taxes and insurance, if your escrows are along with your principal interest, let's just say your overall payment is $1,000, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is overall $1,000, then that's what's going to be reported on your credit report, which is going to subsequently cut into your debt to income if you're trying to make other purchases that's going to need credit as well. But for instance, if you had your escrow separate from your mortgage payment, what then would happen when someone were to pull your credit report, the only thing that's being reported is your principal and interest and not your taxes and insurance. So that's one reason you may want to keep those things separate if you choose to. Please keep in mind that under certain programs, you don't have the option to separate your escrows from your principal and interest. So there you have it, escrows explained. Hopefully you feel more equipped with knowledge and education about what they are, understanding them more if you already have a mortgage, understanding how they work, if you are getting ready to purchase a home or refinancing. Hopefully you understand the difference between the two in terms of escrow with your real estate agent and escrows is being withheld for your mortgage payment. Thanks for joining me on Let's Talk Mortgage. I'll see you next time.